Have you ever noticed how a single word can shift the entire energy of a conversation? In today's episode, I'm sharing a word that we have pretty much eliminated from our relationship because it is so harmful and it's probably not a word that you are thinking. So I will also be sharing what you can do instead of using this super common word. So let's dive in to Loving with Intention. I'm Lindsay, I'm your host, and I'm stoked that you are here. So before we dive in and talk about what this word is, let's talk about why it is so important. So imagine words in your relationship like the steering wheel of a car. And even the tiniest turn can change the entire direction that you're going. So the right words in our relationship can steer you towards connection and love and understanding, while the wrong ones can take you totally off course and lead to arguments and tension and hurt feelings and total disconnection. So today we're going to fine tune how we steer our conversations to make sure that we're moving in the right direction. So the word that we have pretty much eliminated from our relationship is a word that wears a very sneaky disguise. It seems so innocent because it's often framed as curiosity, but a lot of the time it is actually criticism and blame. The word is why. Here are some examples of how you might use this word. Why would you put it on that shelf? Why would you park there and not closer to the store? Why didn't you listen? Why would you ask me that when you know I'm busy? Why did you do it like that? Truth is, if you're asking those questions, you're probably not really being curious and looking for an answer, because no answer from your partner is going to make you go like, oh, okay, that makes sense why you parked there. Thanks so much for letting me know. So we're not actually getting really curious. We're using this as criticism or blame. So all of those why questions are really implying a character flaw. So things like you're too stupid, or you're too messy, or uncaring, or you're getting it wrong. So they leave our partner feeling really badly. And your partner is likely to respond to those questions with defensiveness or their own criticism, or maybe they just totally shut down. So to run through an example of this, let's look specifically at the one, why did you do that? Or why did you do it like that? Maybe you asked your partner this after they loaded the dishwasher. So what's underlying that question is likely that you're implying they did it wrong, or that your way is the better way. You're not actually curious. So if you feel a why question coming on, or notice that one has left your mouth, I invite you to get curious. Do I actually want to know the reason why? Or do I have some unmet needs in this situation? When it comes to the dishwasher and you saying to your partner, why did you load it like that? Maybe you have unmet needs for cleanliness and order and efficiency, which are all so freaking valid. And you know that if it were organized differently, you could fit more in the load and things would actually get clean because the dishes are separated apart from each other, the way it's designed. So asking your partner why they did it like that is actually going to get you further from these needs, because they're likely to receive it as an attack, because it kind of is one. And that is not very inspiring for change, and it creates that disconnection. So once you identify your unmet needs there, ask yourself, next step, how important is this to me? I'm a big fan of picking our battles in relationships, because you are two unique and wonderful individuals blending your lives. And there are going to be times that you do things your way, quote unquote, and their way, quote unquote. You might check in and think, well, it's really not that big of a deal to me because they do all this other stuff that I appreciate. They never leave dishes in the sink. They always load the dishwasher and they unload it, whatever it is. So I'll just keep quiet because this isn't one of, picking my battles. This isn't the battle I want to pick. But if you do check in and you're like, this actually is really important to me, which is totally cool. That makes so much sense. This is where we get to steer the wheel in the direction of connection. So in these scenarios, I checked in with myself years ago and I thought, if my partner was telling me something that, he would like done in a different way, how would I want to hear it? Because I know that he could tell me in the nicest way, and there's still a chance that I could get triggered and get defensive or feel badly, because we are human and we have all of these beautiful little triggers that we get to discover and heal throughout our lives again and again. So what I did then, when I thought about how I would like to hear things, I started doing what I would like to hear. So I started using the phrase, I love you and when I share things with him. So we're sticking with this dishwasher example, which is actually really funny because both him and I love the dishwasher in absolute chaos. So we're on the same page and everything's just like smashed in the wrong way. So this example does not apply to us, but imagining that I liked it tidy and organized, I would say to him something like, honey, I love you. And I was noticing that the dishes haven't been totally clean when they come out of the dishwasher. I would love if we could put the dishes in more like lined up so that they come out clean. Is this going to guarantee you a perfect response from your partner? No, but it is more likely to build connection and get a more connected response than asking them, why did you load it like this? Even if you use, I love you, and they could feel triggered and respond, you just do it then, or I can't do anything right, can I? These are powerful moments for you to lean in with curiosity and wonder and look under. Under their defensive or critical response are parts of them that are feeling hurt or feeling attacked or feeling tender, even though you said it in such a kind way. When you respond speaking to those needs and those parts of them versus reacting to the words that they're using, you can shift the dance. So what would this look like? So say, you said it so perfect, honey, I love you and I would love. And then they respond with, I can't do anything right, can I? Maybe in the past, you might have responded with something like, I never even said that, you're overreacting, or you don't even listen, that's not what I meant. And this likely gets you caught up in a familiar dance. Instead, if you choose to just pause, take a deep breath, and lean in with love and say something like, I can totally see how what I'm saying sounds like I'm saying that you did something wrong. I really appreciate everything that you do. I appreciate that you load the dishwasher, that there's never any dishes left in the sink. I would love for us to find a way together that works better so the dishes come out clean. I love you and we're a team. Let's figure this out without either of us having to feel bad. So, I know you might be thinking, that sounds scripted and forced and not how I talk at all. And I totally get it that it might feel awkward at first because it is a new way of communicating. And honestly, when I got a relationship coach in a group coaching program years ago, it felt super weird to me to start saying some of the things. He would tell me things to say and I'd be like, you want me to use those words? And I leaned in because let me ask you this. When your partner does get reactive, are you usually reacting by, getting defensive, getting critical back, or feeling super misunderstood and triggered? And do your reactions from that place tend to create loving connection or tend to result in an argument or just shutting down and not getting anywhere? If we keep doing things the same way, we'll probably just keep getting the same results. So thinking of this like a new skill. Anytime you learn something new, like if you're going to learn to cook or play a sport, it feels clunky, it feels unnatural, it doesn't feel like quote unquote you. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. The same goes for how we communicate. So at first, changing the way we speak might feel unnatural, like leaning in with I love you and leaning in with curiosity. But with time, it does become second nature. And guess what? It starts working better too, which is the goal. So your partner actually comes to expect this kind of language from you. And they even start to use the same language. I saw this in my relationship too. And isn't that worth a little bit of awkward discomfort if it leads to more love and connection? I totally think so. I mean, I obviously think so, or I wouldn't be sharing this with you. So truly, this has been gold in our relationship. All of this stuff around the word why. We got really intentional about this. And now if it comes out of one of our mouths, we look at each other, we laugh, we reframe the question. And no joke, literally this morning, I asked my partner if I could tell you this. He said to me, why did you leave this out? And instead of getting mad or defensive like I would have in the past, I laughed and I said, you don't want to know why. You're just being critical and blaming me. And then he laughed. We cracked a few jokes back and forth, and then all was well. We just got to carry on with the day. And this is definitely not the approach that I recommend taking right now. If your partner is asking a why question, I would not have done this when I learned how negatively impactful the word why was. It's only because of years of loving with intention and creating new patterns around this super common word that now it is just funny and fun, and we can point out when each other are saying the word. So I know that I'm sharing what to do if you're the one who's asking the why questions and how to shift that. And you may be wondering, what do I do if it's my partner who's being critical and asking the why questions? Great question. Let's dive in. So, first, recommend gently asking for clarification. So, saying something like, when you're asking me why, are you wanting to know what my thinking was, or are you feeling frustrated? If you're feeling frustrated, I can totally see why. Or if you can't see why, this is when you get curious and say something like, if you're feeling frustrated, help me understand because I want to help you out here. This can uncover the emotions behind the question and diffuse the tension that's happening. And you get to give them empathy and curiosity and understanding. This is how you get to change the dance if you're the only one in your relationship who's into relationship growth work. And what I did also when I learned the truth about why questions was I approached my partner in a totally neutral, connected moment. And that's so important. So if I had approached my partner and talk about the word why directly after he used it, or when we were fighting about something else, that would have not gone over well. So choosing time is so important. So totally connected, totally neutral. I went and I shared with him what I had learned, and I owned that, like, oh my gosh, this is something that I do. And I told him what I learned about it. I didn't point out how he did it. I just came from a place of like, whoa, this makes so much sense. I can't believe I didn't know this. And I shared with him, I'm going to write it on the fridge so that we can get extra intentional about it, because I would love if we weren't using this word, because this is a great switch that we can make. And I write out so many things on my fridge. I'm telling my clients this all the time. Like, I got that on my fridge. I got that on my fridge. I got that on my fridge, because this is how I like to get super intentional. Learning this today, you might be listening to this and think the same as me, like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And it might just, just go back to normal patterns and not be something that you're thinking about in a week, because that's how we roll. And I learned that that's how I roll. So that's when I started writing things on the fridge, so that every day, multiple times a day, I was seeing my little card on the fridge that said no why questions. And that was so helpful in getting super intentional about shifting this pattern. So I love these little reminders. And I want to note that I learned about this from one of my favorite books, Beyond Blame by Dr. Carl Alasko. It is so powerful, and I reference it all the time. Lastly, it is super important to note that there are times that we literally use why out of genuine curiosity. So, for example, maybe your partner's like, texts you and they say, I just have to stop at the store on the way home and then I'll be right home. And they get home and you ask, why did you stop at the store? And you might literally be curious. They didn't mention anything about it. You want to know why they went. This isn't blame. This isn't criticism. So even though your intention is purely curiosity, genuinely, the question can still feel like blame or criticism to the other person. Our brains often interpret why as an attack, because it often is. So even when it's not meant that way, we're still interpreting that way. So this could be conditioning from our childhood. Maybe we saw our parents having blame and criticism towards each other, using why questions towards us. So now it's just like in our nervous system, we remember it's now a trigger for us. So when you ask why, also, you are inherently bringing attention to someone's decision making. So now that person is checking in like, why did I do that? Subconsciously. And that might bring up feelings of shame or guilt or judgment of, oh, I was supposed to go grab this thing a few days ago and I'm getting it so late. So now they're having all of these negative feelings, even though nothing wrong was done. They just stopped at the store. So this is why we toss out why questions entirely in our relationship. Instead of using a why question there, I could ask, what did you grab at the store? Same thing. And is just a whole lot softer and is building connection versus risking disconnection. So being mindful of our approach, we take control of the steering wheel in our conversations, and then we get to guide them toward more loving, understanding connections. So your intentional action for the week is to start noticing those why questions. If it's you bringing them, bringing in a whole lot of love and compassion. There are beautiful needs there. And this is when you get to pause and get curious. What are my needs? And how important is this to me? If you notice that it's your partner asking the why questions, this is where you get to lean in and change the dance. Compassion, curiosity, understanding, looking for their beautiful needs underneath the why. And I 10 out of 10 recommend heading to my most recent video about the biggest relationship mistake we make, because in this video, I go deeper into the concept of wonder and look under so that you can really see and understand what's underneath some of the most common relationship poisons that we use. I am sending so much love into your day. Remember that nothing changes if nothing changes. So let's have an intentional week.